they can survive through to the game where they can actually show up.
Tried it with the Alistair, ended up being a little bit awkward, couldn't quite find the big engage he was looking for, and Fnatic were just ready for it. How many hostile takeovers stuffed those engages? Never mind the likes of the Gwen and the Kalista bringing down the back end of those fights. But still, draft now beginning. GX on blue side, banning away the Poppy and the Rumble. On the other side, that Yone will always be banned against Jackies. The Azir also off the table.
I think you have to ban out the Jax too. I just think that Lot's too good at the champion. If he even gets a match which is kind of playable for that champion, you should just get rid of it. Malachi, we said, is a EU special, even though these teams are not necessarily the ones which play it as much. Still very much respected here within the region. Do Jax go towards that? No, they ban the Vi instead. So Lot, maybe it wouldn't be the early pick into it. The Varus a much better blind pick, but we do need to question whether that Jax is going to be playable, and Oscar will have to keep that in mind for himself too.
Isma's win rate on the Jax is pretty formidable, by far his best looking champion. Still though, Fnatic have got that game to play with. Lock in an early Jhin here.
So, Jhin, Varus, very strong in lane. Often when one's locked in lane, you reply with the other because they both have long range follow-up. They can both provide some CC from a long range for their team. Varus has a bit more flexibility in what he can do in terms of either on-hit tank shredding or, of course, going towards the poke as well. Isma is an Italy player, and it's a genuine. You can go for the double poke here and look towards. Heck, I mean, it was the BDS thing where they went towards Varus, Jason, Italy last split an awful lot.
Can try and make it work. The Nocturne being hovered. I'll note Neferi up and available as well, but they go towards the Nocturne and potentially make it a Knock Wave combo.
Nice, okay. So, Humanoid needs to lock in something that doesn't die easily. You need to, look, you need to lock in something that lanes well into the Orianna and doesn't die particularly easily to a Nocturne Orianna, because you already have the Jhin, who is immobile, and yes, he's long range. Nocturne doesn't care about that. Nocturne presses R and then lights go out, and suddenly your HP bar hits 0. Humanoid, he has played this a little bit, and he locks it in. Aurelion Sol for Humanoid. Rarely seen in the mid lane, but it is hovering around the fringe of things. Not what I would call unkillable for a Nocturne Orianna, but you can press the R button first sometimes.
And you can fly away and ignore all your problems. It's great. Of course, I believe Humanoid is probably a significant amount of the play rate of the Astral Dragon. He's 3 games so far.
Listening to Lenny Kravitz, I hear he had a song about that.
I'm not. You know, you nearly made me sing that. I nearly just went on it. It would have been a bad idea.
Think about that. So bot lane yet to be completed for either side. The Nico, big for both of these guys, worth noting. Both of these teams have long-range initiation comps. You have an Aurelion Sol that can fly into the play. You can lob in that ultimate. Also, what you can do with both of these comps too, and both teams need to be aware of this, is lock people in melee range if the engage fails or doesn't get all the targets that you want. Imagine you are the Nocturne, you fly into the Shin Zhao, if you can't quite get towards those carries, and then you get Jhin W'd, and then you get put into the Singularity from Aurelion Sol. You don't really get out of that play. So that's something that both of these teams are going to have to keep in mind. Do you have a way to not get caught into that meat grinder? Or, of course, in both teams, buy the other team into your own meat grinder.
Big mobility, engage options banned out by the side of Fnatic in the Nico and that Rakan, 2 Jhin specialties. It has been top lane tank options that GX have been getting rid of. And of course, they're kind of considering a Jax angle here, of course. Could, I suppose, be locked in here for Oscarinin if you want. It's just, it could be a bit risky to do that blind.
Leona banned away from Mikyx. Again, that would have been quite nice in regards to the meat grinder, because you can throw the ultimate from a long range away. Rell, I believe Mikyx's undefeated on this. I think he's 5-0 actually on the champion.
That's pretty good going.
He had a hell of a game on it versus G2. Logs it in. The 6th game of spring, including playoffs and regular season. 5-0 on it so far. That Jax, which we said, hey, Lot, very, very good on this. I believe he's 4-1 on that champion. Would be another melee, which is, we've said there are dangers of it, but Jax, if he jumps into melee, often likes to finish the fight as he jumps in with a Counter-Strike too. So Jax and Fnatic both saying, all right, let's buy into the melees, let's jump into the meat grinder.
Debating a Gragas right now. It's just a hover, so I hold off on saying it's locked in, but the moment I talk about it, there it is locked for Jhin.
I love that it's locked in for support for Jhin, who has played a bit of it, but it's against Mikyx.
I know.
Before all of this other stuff he's been playing, he was that Gragas one trick who made a mess of solo queue for a little while. He's really good at that pick. So Jhin locks that in, pretty good again, dispersing people, and it's going to be the Cho'Gath locked in for Oscarinin. Okay, so another kind of thing to lock you into that middle ground. Now if you dive in, you get hit by the Cho'Gath Q into the Singularity, into the Jhin W, you just never get to move. Both of these teams need to plan their engages very, very carefully, because when the fight starts, you better have a way to finish that fight, because if you don't get the kills you're looking for at the start of it, you are getting locked down. It's very hard if you're the melee player.
And look, you can't counter-strike the nom. You will just get eaten up as well. So, you know, because again, you got to call it outright. Like, you know that LOT will be looking for that Jax if you can get a hold of it. Fnatic clearly were trying to bait it out and feel like they have the answer there. The scaling Fnatic, when you have the likes of an Aurelion Sol and now the Cho'Gath with all of those V-stacks you can pick up. Pretty scary to manage. Getting ready to lock in and get ready for the rip though. GX, the mid-game fight with a Orianna Nocturne combo. Pretty brutal, but Fnatic, they can get that Aurelion Sol line, that Cho'Gath with a few stacks. Not exactly easy to manage themselves.
The Stackosaurus Rex.
Is that the Latin name?
What is actually all good in Arena, which I miss very much, by the way, but definitely something which do need to keep on,
by the way, because he mentioned that to you before.
But Fnatic, strong game one, very good snowball, very good team fighting after that points. Can they match that again in the second game with a very different kind of composition? Onto the Rift we go.
Game 2 about to kick off. Fnatic got the Kalista the first time round and ran rampant this time. Very different look at the drafts. For GX's sake, they'll be hoping for a very different result. Again, with a little bit of a cinematic fly over there as everyone runs to lanes. Don't get anything here at the level 1. LOT just roaming with Isma, who throws the thumbs up here on repeat. He's just a really thumbs-uppy guy.
30 seconds until minions.
Got a couple of players which like spamming that one, which is, hey, keeps your APM up, I hear, is the reason for that. We will need to, of course, keep an eye on this top lane matchup. Again, Oscar picking the Cho'Gath into the Jax, which was very likely to come through. Strike doing decent work here, but no, Cho'Gath with the E-start does do a decent amount of auto damage himself.
Spikes comes on down, very annoying. A little bit of a trade here over by the Raptors. No wards really put down though. Runes up on that. Nothing I'm seeing that looks super
No wards put
weird
down,
there.
besides that one which we just saw put down in the middle of the screen as you
at
mentioned
the
it.
moment I said it.
Of course, this jungle tracking does matter an awful lot. Last game, the early level of jungle didn't do that much in terms of ganks. Having information, of course, changed the way you play around the game. Do they know that this ward is put down? I don't see any pings onto it from the side of Fnatic. They might not know that it's there, and so LOT intercept Oscar on the way back to lane.
That counter strike again at the level 1 gets another bit of a chunk, looking to build a few grass procs of his own here on the Jax. Outside. One of those interesting matchups. Upset holding that fourth shot, looking to see whether he can zone off Noah and Jhin. The fight for level 2. Looks like it might well be. I say one by Upset and the rest of the crew, but they don't zone them off that much of the wave.
Jhin and Varus, of course, both very good in the laning phase. So the supports often have to be the deal breaker between the two of them. Both AD carries do similar things, I suppose, to each other. Worth noting that this is going to be the on-hit Varus. You see a Cho'Gath on the other side, you see the Rell potentially jumping in front of you, and you think, okay, I do need some extra damage to kill those tanks. As Humanoid jumps forward in the mid lane, nice stacking.
Oh, the Astral Flight comes down and Jack, he eats a few procs, the Breath of Light. More like the Breath of Death very shortly after that.
Wow. Yeah, Aurelion Sol gets that bonus damage to the Q if you're mid-flight. So if you manage to get a roll, get a bit of a runway, and you can walk at someone and channel that Q, it is really nasty. We haven't seen that many people play the Aurelion Sol. Humanoid's played it a bit. I know that Jojo's played it for MCOY as well. Razork forcing flash for flash. That's some good reactions there from Jackies.
Now Jackies needs to be very wary, of course, for another one of those Astral Flight attempts as well. But early on, Jackies put under a lot of pressure. First in the 1v1, and then Razork looking to get involved early on there, having cleared out his red side quadrant.
So, Razork making an impact there in the mid lane. See whether they can return to that, because that flash is going to be down now for the level 6 mark. So if Humanoid can get a good flight in, chances are that Jackie's being immobile, maybe could be under threat there. Razork, or Mikyx, of course, loves to roam mid lane. Can hover near the lane.
Reset now from the Aurelion Sol. Nothing too much more there. We're looking probably for an early tier. Often is the way on those Aurelion Sols. See exactly what the build is. It's just going to be the Mana Crystal so far, so not quite the full Lost Chapter or tier. Isma though. Looking for a potential look at Oscarinin here though. LOT silenced by the Feral Scream.
It needs to be a little bit careful here. It does have second winged door and shield ticking, but you know, Cho'Gath auto attack reset hits a Q. A decent spot. Isma could tank the turret here. See how it goes.
Counter-Strike comes on down, just wide. The Feral Scream comes up bot side, the dive comes on down. Noah is in danger, and unfortunately the arc does not allow them to go 2x2. It's just one man standing in the bot lane.
The AD carry dies, which means that they lose. Hang on a second, try in the picture in top lane this time. So switch over as the cross smack does come through to kill on either side.
Cho'Gath at least takes Isma with him, but a lot does get to stay in the lane. Will be able to reset there himself and come back.
Oscar gets himself the kill. Sadly for Lot, he doesn't. Does of course stay alive, and he can farm the wave. On the other side, of course, Noah dies and he can't farm the wave. That's often one of the big things you look for in the dive. Who gets to stick around and pick up the XP? Important in the early game. Jhin doesn't have vision inside that brush and will not be able to cancel the recall. So, activity in the early game, something that we didn't have as much of at this timestamp just before that point.
Have a look at this replay now as well. I suspect this will be the top lane dive that we saw kind of brewing before the bot lane one kicked off before it.
And now, the thing is, when you look at people on this HP, you think, okay, what's going to be the Jax that'll die? Somehow it's Isma which dies beforehand. Does he tank aggro? No, he doesn't. What happens is Oscar ends up keeping the ranged minions out of aggro, so Isma takes it just one shot earlier by clearing out it's very close run stuff, but Oscar controlling the wave there to buy him an extra tower shot onto Isma.
Oscar did burn the flash. Of course, there's the rupture. Kind of buffers through the Counter-Strike well enough to match the CC. Shadowing Strike bot side into the crash down and the deadly flourish. So Noah ends up losing a third or so of his HP bar there. A little bit frustrating for him, but does have a pot and a biscuit in inventory, so shouldn't matter a huge amount here in the grand scheme of things.
Level 6 is about to get hit now. Lot jumping forwards. It's a decent trade down there. Oscar not trading that badly back, though. Has a giant spell, so has a bit more HP to work with, which of course is nice. Because a lot of your stuff scales off the HP too. That ultimate, of course, the big one of it. Humanoid holding the wave in mid lane right now. As we said, hey, Jackie doesn't have that flash. You're about to level up towards level 6 in mid lane. The fact that you could just pull Jackie's a little bit further away from turret, quite dangerous here for Jackie's. Humanoid making sure that Jackie's can't sit pretty, and that means Jhin has to come over.
Still got a minute, 30 seconds or so on that flash timer, so trying to defend the Orianna while that's happening. Grubs spawned quite yet, a couple minutes on that. The Dragon is up, and GX are a team that does love those early objectives so they can get their hands on them. Didn't really get to do that much last game, as Mikyx will face check Lot, and Lot will whack him with an empowered auto. The lamppost comes on down, and Mikyx doesn't care too much, but there is the early Dragon startup by Fnatic.
Jackie's under tower. Isma putting in some deep wards in the enemy jungle, actually. There's one just behind that red buff. Potentially looking to see if he can catch someone out on the way to top lane tower. See what's on that minimap. Mikyx is going to be shielding Oscar, and Oscar does have a decent amount of HP. Not easy to do that much, especially with the Nocturne not having level 6. Needs a little bit more for that. Dragon goes down. Oscar has Mikyx supporting him.
A camp or so for that to happen. They see Mikyx coming in, but now Jackie's in danger. Does have the flash nearly back, but not quite yet. Will self-shockwave though, and the Sombrero does a lot of work. Razork flash for flash just up in time, and Jackie's gets away with it.
Fnatic had the idea to punish the flash cooldown, but they don't quite work it out in time. Jackie's gets a kill on the turret. Now he is very low HP, he'll have to recall quite soon, but that's a good amount of gold over towards the Orianna. And Razork missing that flash, it's definitely something which you'll would like to have for a future fight, because we're getting towards that point in the game with the one item mark when you do have Isma and Jackie's, the level 6s being very important here, and you don't have flash for moments like this now.
And there's the paranoia afterwards as well. Jump on top of him, he's fleeing, the body slam comes on down, you can make the win becomes lightning. All you want, my friend. You're still going down into the dirt. Isma picks up the kill, nice weight around the ramp.
Exactly what we were saying. Razork loses the flash. Isma, nice micro there to get the other side of the shins out of fear and back in towards the support player, rather than letting him run away from him. Razork goes down and dies twice in about the same amount of minutes. Razork trying to be active here, but GX responding very well, and now they have the gold lead.
And look, Fnatic came into this series understandably favoured, but the Desk did call out a few of those win cons, and I want to remind people of one of them, namely, let Isma play with resources, was point number 2 that Finn made, and what do you know, he's got some resources early.
He does, and he's gained them for himself. Good on him. He's self-sufficient. We like to see that at points. Isma, of course, didn't have his flash for that play. We'll have it coming up. His ultimate was used for a bit of the burst in that one. Mikyx crashed down over the wall. Grubs have spawned.
Doesn't crash out over the wall, you know, he's not having a bad day. He's actually played quite well.
No, that comes later. Things go worse.
Fnatic playoffs, yeah.
Do Fnatic want to contest towards this? Probably not. Razork, again, no flash, makes it a little bit harder to walk down towards this. Upside could come down, though. Of course, he has the curtain call. Makes things a bit interesting.
Look to play that lot. there as well with the rest of the squad. The rest of Fnatic playing a little bit of Safari League of Legends, honestly. Are zoning off GX from the wave, though, importantly, as that has crashed into turret. Trying to find Jhin here. Maybe get stunned up, wards go down. They want to try and get a bit of a chunk here, but half the HP of the Gragas is what they get for their time in the river.
Fnatic, not really sure what they wanted to do in that last minute there. They get a chunk out of Jhin, as you were saying, which helps in terms of getting control of this 2v2 positioned in the top side of the map. GX are completely happy with this early game now. The 3 grubs definitely helps. It allows them to cross map a little better. Maybe allows a lot to get some advantage out of side lanes. Crash forwards.
Looking to jump onto Noah, who will cleanse flash away. Humanoid was around. The Astral Flight was activated, but has to cancel it and head back home. Not enough fuel in the tank. Oscarinin on the other side, throwing out some of those empowered autos, but in comes Isma with the paranoia. Flash away, breaks the tether, so no unspeakable horror required. Razork waiting though, looking to give Isma a taste of his own medicine. Tries to audacious charge forward, Oscar in danger. Rupture into the 3 talents, trying to knock him. Looking for the face, flashes out of range. And Isma survives, but for how long as Razork will look to hunt him down, or audacious charge comes on down, trying to get some damage back. Can't quite get the fear, can't donate the kill either as yet. He's got a spell shield. He will eventually fall, but still a 1-for-1.
So both junglers getting involved in the bottom side of the map. Razork hangs out of position, out of vision rather, in that brush. Now Humanoid has a pretty high HP, has his ultimate. Lot will have to pay respect to that. See that Isma really trying to be active on these globals. The Pantheon in that first game, the Nocturne in this second game, quick to respond towards these plays. I think one of the big things I've noticed about the meta across the world, particularly here in Europe as well, over this split, as people have realized, look, teleports take a long time to get places. By the time you've ended that channel, a lot of the time fights have already ended. So everyone has started locking globals. We've seen a lot of Panther, we've seen a lot of FLICKR. Now it helps that they're strong champions too, but it also means you can react very, very quickly to these plays. Seeing something like Isma on Nocturne, which has been something which I remember him playing at low in EMEA Masters down in the ERL level. Something he's pretty confident on. Having that ability to quickly start fights and quickly respond to fights is really good in the current meta.
It's earned him an early Hex Plate here as well to have more of those ultimates up and available. There's always been a little bit of a debate on what item you should go first on the Nocturne. Stride Breaker's been a thing, Hex Plate's been a thing. A little bit dependent on exactly what you want out of the champion.
Yeah, and you tend to only build one of the Stride Breaker or the Hex Plate. That'll do you. Then you can go towards something like either the Starets or the Black Cleaver, that second item. Isma, good amount of gold ahead of Razork, of course. Wanting to make sure that doesn't get too out of hand. The Xin Zhao, in a game like this, if he falls behind, can be quite vulnerable. Needs to hold on to stuff like his flash not very well. Not landing the combo there.
All of the skill shot CC does go wide. Dragon is about to spawn. That must be second for Fnatic, and they are interested in playing for it. One ward in the river there, not being swept out though, is giving GX a little bit of an idea about what's happening, even if Fnatic largely have serious command over the river. Have now spotted out that ward. How to finish it off yet?
Humanoid not at the place. They don't have as much damage onto that dragon. Forced out of river, paying respect to GX.
He has 69 stacks towards the Skies Descend though. In they go. Paranoia pop. Flash away from Razork, who has the Crescent Guard down. I apologize. Teleport in from Oscarinin, who turns up. That should now secure Dragon. A few summoners blown, but nothing else.
It does, but the big thing is you blow the teleport from Oscar. Well, you have a 3 drop Jax on the top side, who we said was going to benefit if he gets a little bit of time left onto that turret. He'll get himself another plate up towards that top side of the map. Yes, Humanoid could have potentially teleported up towards it, chooses not to. Lot gets himself individual advantage at the cost of the Dragon.
Yeah, big swing in gold there for him. Razork does land that Wind Becomes Lightning and allows the extended audacious charge, but Jackie just shockwaves him! And Razork's gone too deep.
Razork is really being punished as the person who is most vulnerable on the side of Fnatic. We've said this right the way from the early picks of draft. If you're a melee in this game, it's really, really difficult. Lot gets himself some more gold. That is important. That'll help him later in the game, as one of those aforementioned melees, to maybe survive the meat grinder. Razork there, getting caught out by something like that Shockwave, getting caught out by, the Varus potentially later into the game too, needs to be very, very careful. You are not that survivable in a draft like this.
No, he's not, and especially if now with the Grubs win condition somewhat on the line. Just a bit of an interrupt there on Lot. We'll counter-strike here. Is anyone coming up to support this? Look at the mini-map. In comes Isma. Doesn't quite have the paranoia. Continuing to jump at Lot, who does avoid the rupture. TP behind. Looking to make the play on this. Lot getting slowed down. Not quite going to get out. They'll TP in. And the Jax survives.
No chomp from Oscar. Otherwise, maybe a dead Jax. Lot makes it out alive. Oscar, I think it was a blind cancel on the rusher, actually. Not sure he had a ward in that. But Lot Gets himself a bunch of gold from top lane. Very nearly dies before he can spend it. Goes back now and will buy himself a full Trinity Force and components towards his next item. 1k ahead. Lot very, very good stats on the Jax. Nice to see him not get punished there by Oscar. Very nearly clawed back some gold. Would have been quite important to do so. Noah controlling this mid lane now. First item completed for both of our AD carries. This is the point where both of them tend to just sit around in mid lane, wave clearing, trying to be as safe as possible. A little bit harder for Upset to do that in this game because there's the Nocturne Orianna, which we haven't seen that combo actually be pulled just yet. It's just been Isma on his own. You have to be aware of that. Sometimes you get a bit mind-gamed against combos like that where, so there's a Nocturne, I see his ult. Oh, the Shockwave. And you don't see them together for a while, and then it hits you once, and you think, oh yeah,
that's why it was a thing.
That's why they get picked together. Fnatic to be hyper aware of that later on. If Upset gets taken down easily, Humanoid, a lot of their damage goes with it. 3 grubs from GX. If they can get any taps on this tap, means a lot obviously, but Upset doing well at wave clearing safely for now.
Feats of strength were picked up by GX.
Oh,
Razork behind, looking to get onto Jackie's. The moment we start talking about the shockwave on the cell, might give Jackie's a moment, flash away, the shot's hit, but he's still so fast! Phase Rush gets him out to safety, the Mundo stocks keep getting higher, nice moat.
Didn't need to pop the Seraph's shield, or rather his shield pops just about that. Herald now alive, Jackie's no shockwave, no flash, can teleport back in and use his basic abilities, but Fnatic to at least buy one of the defensive measures from Jackie's if there's a fight for this.
Still though, GX are still up 2,500 gold, which is a solid amount at this point in the game. The Jax 1,200 of that should be pretty scary if you are a Fnatic fan. We're going to try and get this Herald here too.
Good early game from GX so far. They fought well, they're heading kills 2,000 gold up at this timestamp, getting good objectives down too with the Herald going on top of their grubs which they had early. Coming into this matchup, I did think GX could give Fnatic a good game. If Fnatic was still... yeah, for a second I just had to check. I've seen enough random...
Yeah.
I've seen enough random arrow steals from Varus that even when it's on the same team, sometimes my brain has been wired to see what happens with that. Anyway.
I have yelled unnecessarily before at those.
It's completely fine. They do get themselves the Herald. Minute and a half until Dragon is up and available again. Could be soul points to Fnatic with a Mountain Sol. Now that is definitely not something which GX would like to be giving over. Also worth noting as well, something that's happened in our inventories, we have the Catalyst sitting in the inventory of Humanoid. You do this because the Rod of Ages doesn't give you extra HP on completion now, you just get the 350 HP for it, so why not sit on Catalyst? Rell is just a good item in terms of stats, and Humanoid can be someone that, again, just traps you into that melee area if you misstep. Humanoid quite tanky for this point in the game, but providing some utility at the expense, of course, some damage that you would have with something like a Blackfires or a Leandries.
So GX at this point looking to try and get some control of the mid lane wave, drop that Herald, use it to buy pressure into the river for that Dragon Spawn. Should just take down that tier 1 in mid lane. It's already more than low enough for the Herald to do it just by itself. Upset doesn't really have a lot to say about it, and there goes that mid tier 1. Fnatic will have to force their way into the river while Jackie's begins to clockwork wind up the turret. Just, you know, throwing some insults up at it.
He has 3 grubs to work with too, which are definitely more helpful on that front. Jhin leaving a Q to keep some vision. Well, I think so, but Isma is off vision. See what they can do with it.
It's a Grand Stoppel. Isma's now very much on vision. Has to flash away. In they go though. Paranoid in for the blow. At least one person. Like explosive gas comes on down, fleeing for the moment, but he's still alive. Upset finally falls as Lot TP's in, but it's already a lot of damage that Fnatic have managed to find onto the backside of the skies. Descended and GX were caught under the crashing stars. Lot goes down as well. Razork has got a 3-talent strike waiting. Jackie sidesteps well, but he's hit with the breath of the light. It's just the light at the end of the tunnel. And Fnatic are the train waiting to bring Jackie's down. He buys a moment or two, but the clockwork ballerina dances no more.
GX pull the combo, but again, it doesn't involve the shockwave. You need to have the shockwave, I think, at this kind of timestamp to have the damage to kill the carry. You'll go back into the replay, and then one of the immediate things you'll notice is that Jackie's is still pushing bot lane. They pull the trigger too early. There is no shockwave. Yes, the combo from Jhin is pretty good, but if the shockwave is here, you don't get the extra damage from Upset during that fight. You don't lose the flash early from Jax, and you have more tools to fight with later into it. I really think they have to pull the trigger while Jackie's was there. The miscommunication, Fnatic pick up the pieces, quickly realize they have an opportunity, and they force then afterwards onto the flashless Orianna to pick up the last kill.
Great fight, that's Soul Point. With the gold lead pretty much non-existent now for the side of GX, and what looked like a great game for them. been left in a much more precarious position, 4 or so minutes, and Sol comes on down for something like a Cho'Gath, and you start to cry a bit about all of the shields and resistances of this massive tanky top lane.
Especially since you just can't get away from them after a while too, because, you know, there's going to be someone like an Aurelion Sol flying over your head. Tower's going to go down on the bot side. Jackies will finally get that, was working on that very heavily before that dragon. That was why he was late to that last fight. Fnatic cutting the gold lead out a little bit. Of course, with the Sol, you don't care as much about that.
Towards the mid lane we look briefly. Noah there on the Varus. Has gone towards the on-hit Varus, by the way, worth noting. Of course, he is into things like the Cho'Gath, so it does make some sense that he wants a bit more tank killing potential. Varus notoriously pretty good at maintaining control over that mid lane wave, and so shoves that one up pretty happily. Upset though, quite at that second item, nearly there. Doing his best to be a scaling threat, so to speak, on the Jhin.
No, he's going towards the rapid fire second, which it makes sense against this kind of composition, which wants to punish you by throwing you into low range and then keeping you there. So he wants to use that rapid fire proc to keep himself out of that a little longer. So we come into a pause again.
And Fnatic once again, powered. We know what it is.
Powered.
Someone, you know, we've got to check up how they do this. What deal did they make to get the pause buff?
Well, wasn't it like Crappo and Froggen putting Ham in the servers way back when?
I remember that.
Pretty sure that was in one of the show matches ages ago for Earth. In fact, I'm pretty sure that Shox referenced that again. It makes me feel very old that was a 10-year-old joke.
That I don't want to believe that.
I don't want to believe that.
I'm trying to say, I'm realizing I played League of Legends probably started playing like 12 years ago. That's a long time. Yeah. I put a lot of time into this game, folks.
Yeah, many of the players here have on stage here too. Hello, people waving at the crowd. I wave back to you. I hope you're having a good time here in Berlin. As we were saying earlier, a lot of people travel to the studio for the first time to watch the LEC in its home environment.
Glad to have
here.
you.
Glad to have you here, of course, as well. As we wait to work out the back end of this pause again, and we have a break to think about what's happened in this game, how it's been going so far. Of course, last fight, kind of a big one. GX were in a really good point. If they just had that shockwave in there, I feel like that could have kind of been the launch pad to get them into the next stage of the game. Because they didn't, I'm really quite worried now about Fnatic kind of coming back into it, the Aurelion Sol building up to a couple of items, the Aurelion Sol getting a lot of HP as well, which means that you can't one-shot him, then he puts the Rylai's on you, and you just can't really hit the targets that you want to. Yes, you have more damage on GX. You do have the Jax, you do have, you know, the Shockwave, which can do a lot of work too, but on the other side, it's really hard to get that damage down at some points.
Very much feels that way, and we saw like the massive lead for locked Jax, this champion he's so confident on. He's got such a good win rate on, and yet at this point that 1200 gold lead has slipped away. Fnatic clearly came in ready for the champion. They had the Cho'Gath immediately locked in the moment they saw it. They were so ready to go, and they've done a fantastic job of kind of mitigating the Jax after he got a big lead. Humanoid's waving at us. Hi, Humanoids. Having a good time? He can't hear me. That's probably a good thing. He doesn't want to have to hear my words.
We wave wildly enough. Maybe they'll wave back. It's like, way! So they're not going to notice?
No,
they're really locked in, believe it or not.
It is playoffs. I'd be more worried if they weren't.
Yeah. No. We try and buy time here, of course. See what's happening with the pause, and we'll get back into the game as soon as possible. But
what's your favourite pause content? Just throwing you under the bus.
Thanks,
so, you're welcome, by the way.
Well, normally I have fun facts to give you.
What's a fun fact?
Well, I gave a lot of them out last time.
Yeah, is that all the facts you have in life?
Not all of them. I have some. The fact that I told this one last time, but that a scorpion can breathe underwater.
That would be more useful for last game, though. We had a scorpion in that one, you know?
But they can breathe underwater for 12 days.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, apparently they blow a little bubble around themselves, and they can kind of survive in that for a while. I told the one about the Gimpy Gimpy tree from Australia.
That's a great
Hysterics, which is translated to the Pain tree. Don't use those. Don't use those leaves. They're very, very painful.
Those are fun facts. I don't know whether the Gimpy Gimpy one is strictly a fun fact. That feels like just a generally like that's an awful thing to have in the world.
Oh, what we are reduced to during a pause.
Tell you what.
Yeah.
Could we try to talk about the game? Is that something?
Yeah, occasionally.
Are we allowed to do that? I don't know whether we are in a pause.
I believe we're even here for that.
Are you
reason.
sure?
Occasionally, okay. I'm told so. Yeah, GIANTX. Again, I did a decent play this game. It feels a little bit strange. If you went back to the start of this split, I don't think a lot of people would have believed people in the lead up to this series saying, hey, they can actually give them a good game. In fact, actually, there are ways that maybe they could win, question mark. GX have had some great games against top teams, both at Madrid and then post that too. Beat G2, of course, over in Madrid. And I think, considering that this team had a lot of players that were not on a great set of form. This is cheers. As we get ready towards getting back into the game as well.
Well,
so
many cheering, and I've got good news. Apparently, we're due back in a minute or so.
Wow.
So we're nearly back, folks.
So get ready to get seated again. But yeah, no, GX with a lot of players that were on pretty poor form, I think, in last split and coming into this one, a lot of their players have really stepped up. I think that Isma, from start of split to now, has been one of the most improved players in the LEC. I think that a lot after a weak start at the start of the split 2 has also leveled up an awful lot too, and we saw that from the Vladimir. Even in game 1, we are getting some ready checks back into it, and we'll be getting back into game.
That means we can get back into the action proper and start chatting a little bit more about those players again. And Isma started this game so strong. Actually, as we are about to log in, we've got ourselves a bit of action as we start. Isma pops the Paranoia, the man we were just speaking about. Problem is he's going up against Oscar, who is a mighty beast on this. Cho'Gath still has that feast to work with. Jhin coming on over though, finds the body slam, and the piercing arrow will slay the mighty dragon of top lane.
Noah follows up with the arrow, takes his first kill participation of the game. Ult used into that side lane with a Hex plate. It'll be a lower cooldown too. So Fnatic caught a little bit flat-footed coming out of the pause. Where's Atakan spawned? I do forget it can spawn on different spots. Sometimes it's on the bot side, so it's not like Fnatic are positioning for anything on the top side. GX not in position to use their 3 grubs anywhere right now.
Saw this a little bit last game as well, where you'd see GX maybe get a fight, a pick here or there, but not really be able to convert it into anything else. There wasn't a kill and a turret, a kill and an objective. And again, this game, that's a nice pick, but it hasn't necessarily gotten them anything else there. Still, a kill is a kill, and you'll take it, especially if you have to burn all that much in the grand scheme of things. Ult cooldowns at this point, especially with things like Hex plates, are pretty damn short. View up well in time for the Sol fight, which Oscarin's flash will not be up for.
No, but Fnatic, all they have to do is survive the combo again like they did last time, and hopefully they can have the damage to clean up. GX, I think the next time you must have the Orianna as part of the combo. Fnatic, if they don't get the Shockwave and top at the same time, I think they'll be happy to look for what could even just come down to a smite fight. If they get that Mountain Soul, I think the conversation about the game changes quite a lot.
Yeah. I feel like it probably does, and again, you've still got to do it. It's not a Callista this time with the Rem, but you've still got the Cho'Gath Feast, which is a pretty good smite secure skill in and of its own. So that could still be hard to win against that weighted flip of the smite. Not that easy go down, as GX though look to get some control over this bot side river, with the Atakan also being there. I suspect whoever wins that dragon fight may well also be getting the Atakan.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of stuff on the table then. Ante up. Let's see who comes out ahead of this. Slight gold lead to the side of GX, actually significant one. 2 items for both mid laners. Importantly, does Humanoid have his big old ultimate? We'll have to have check for that one. Yes, he does. So he'll have the Sky's Descend for this fight. That'll apply the Rylai's and the Liandry's, which will then reapply the Rylai's after this. GX, again, their first combo has got to be good. Otherwise, they're going to get slowed down, and champions like the Jax, the Nocturne are all going to really suffer after that point.
GX looking to start putting down some vision, getting control over the river. The last fight wasn't great for them, but as Al noted, pretty good gold lead right now. But it's mostly in jungle and top, the frontliners. The damage carries. And that means things like this Aurelion Sol, things like this Jhin are well within touching distance. Liandry's now complete with the Humanoid. The rapid fire dumper upset. It's pretty good news for Fnatic in terms of their ability to make another fight happen. They've got the shove in mid lane, looking for this tier 1. They're not even necessarily obligated for the fight. TP behind though. GX wanting to find the play. He got the Paranoia. Shockwave onto the backside. Flash away from Aurelion Sol, who does survive, has the Astral Flight available too. The cask doesn't really lead to all that much, and Lot is just left in the middle of nowhere. Tries to get the counter trap, he's split apart. In go the skies, and they descend on a number of people. Lot is feasted, and it is the tastiest thing that Oscarinin has ever had. We'll try and get away now as the curtains were called. GX lose their top laner and find nothing with their attempted engage.
Humanoid is way too tanky. The Catalyst, the Rylai's, the Liandry's all add up to each other to the point where the combo does very little to the Aurelion Sol. Dragon will go over to the side of Fnatic. Mountain Soul claims because GX's combo didn't really deliver on the promise that came through from Draft. They'll get towards that Atakan, both for the taking.
Start that one up as well. We said it would be something Sol secured. Atakan now very much on the table. No ult quite up for Isma, but he's going to come over and try and contest anyway. Dustbringer was used for a bit of extra speed over. Oscarinin clearing out that bot side wave. 3,000 HP, and Isma, I don't think is going to be allowed anywhere near the Atakan. Paranoia gets in nearly there in time. They'll get a kill. What happens in the rest of this fight is Isma just goes in a 1-for-1. The rest of Fnatic continue hunting forward. Upset blows up the Gragas, overcomes the dragon. Will die to Noah, who gets to continue autoing. The problem is Razork gets to Audacious Charge, and Jackie's is broken apart again. Lot left splitting up as Noah will try to bring down Oscarinin, and will do so. Not bad from the AD carry of GX, but it is small mercies. He's caught on a captive audience. And captive he is, as Upset looks to show him exactly how an AD carry does damage.
Fnatic get the Dragon, they get the Soul, they get the Atakan, and they get a bunch of kills off the back of both of those fights. So, it's a pick onto Mikyx in the brush. You use the Paranoid to try and cut off vision through that brush. It's a very powerful tool to make sure they can't auto-attack beyond it. And then Isma goes too far. This is the problem again. You are into the grinder at that point. You're slowed. Your combo has not killed the carries it needs to. Fnatic can keep walking forwards. Now, at least Varus is pretty happy with people slowly walking towards him. He gets a kill or two back, but even then, a lot of damage is dealt. Noah blends his flash at the back end of this. That's definitely a tool he would have liked to have for a future fight. Uses it to get a kill here. I wonder whether that will come back to bite him, actually, in the next few minutes, especially since he dies on the back end of this too.
Caught out by that Jhin trap, and ends up giving another kill over to Upset, who's now well and truly in this game as well. The gold lead is still strictly there for GX, but I think in the grand scheme of things, that 1,000 gold or so means very little in the face of the Mountain Soul and the scaling that's beginning to come on through.
Exactly. If you already weren't one-shotting, you're not one-shotting even harder now because of the extra resist.
You're like 10-shotting.
Yeah.
Very, very different thing. That's like a campaign now.
Yeah,
that's not a one-night thing.
Exactly. You've got to book in lots of sessions, and that's the horror as other tabletop players. As Fnatic in a really good position now. I really think that Fnatic have absorbed the combos very well, chased back again, especially after a difficult early game where I think Razork in particular underestimated how quickly GX could punish him and how well they could punish him without flash, but credit to him, he's stabilized, he's done a very good job of running down the back end of fights.
Congratulations to Humanoid there as well, 25.5 minutes in, getting Fnatic's first turret of the game.
Yay! Demolitionists they are. Razork jumping forwards, W clicks.
That'll be the cleanse force. The curtains are also called, and GX are going to be forced to take a bow. Singularity comes on down, and there's no escaping that event horizon. Mid lane turret goes down, and they've doubled their turret takes in a matter of moments.
Oh, there's been a drive-by in mid lane, and there's been two victims. GX's bot lane, of course, used to be under the halls of Fnatic. Shown no mercy there, though. Baron started up as Fnatic moved from one side of the map to the other. Looks to take the objective.
On to the Baron they go. Oscarinin there with the feast, and there is going to be no way they get to contest in the picture-in-picture. At the very least, Locke gets a tier 2. That'll have to be the silver lining. It's not going to be meaning all that much. Oscarinin gets to feast for 1,300 and picks up a 10th stack of the game. This Cho'Gath turning into a bit of a Godzilla here. Kaiju mode activated.
Has an extra bunch of HP as well from the Heartsteel. Currently has 1,111 HP from that item, which is all very, very nice and alliterative, I guess. So, when becomes Lightning is actually what sets up for the Jhin W. Very rare is that skill which leads to it. The cleanse comes in a little bit late. Maybe Noah was surprised to get hit by that one. The follow-up damage is absurd from the side of Fnatic. 2 quick kills. Tara, and they're going again.
That they are. When a Fnatic ever not going at this point in the game, they'll try and turn it around. The knockwave combo comes in, but it does no damage. They lost the shield on Upset, and that is it. Isma gets to run away, and Razork's pretty deep, but a knock-up from the Rupture donates another kill over to Humanoid, who makes it a double. Continue to hunt for more, knocked up into the air, and they'll give another to Oscarinin. 3 men down, and GX with 2 surviving have to do something about defending the base, but I think Fnatic have at least an inhibitor in their eyes.
I'm not sure there's much they can do about that whole defending thing. If they can't kill the champions, they can't kill the Baron buff on top of it. Humanoid jumps forward again.
The breath of light comes on down, and Upset with the curtain call. Make sure Noah takes a more permanent bow. John, the support alone on the Gragas. He did it into Mikyx, and Mikyx not pleased about it. Throws out a cast. Does get Oscar onto the bounce in. But he gets feasted on the way down. Not bad for a death row meal. And Fnatic will make it 2-0 in the series. Dominating in the mid-game.
Fnatic move to match point. GX have been obliterated in this second game. Yes, a couple of kills come from the fountain,
but it doesn't look like it changes anything. Toying with their food, very apt with a Cho'Gath in the game. And they make sure they bring us to series point.